complete rebirth from inside out. Basically, what does that mean? You know, when people speak about rebirth, sometimes I question if they truly understand what rebirth even means. Same with Jesus. Rebirth is a full restoration of your unconscious pattern so you can actually operate on your original setting that you have from God, I believe. Give me a better, more loving answer and I will agree. Otherwise, I'm sticking with mine. So rebirth is bringing everything that is unconscious, that is not fully in a place of love vibrating, into the forefront so you can tackle it. How do we tackle it? We think what is not love yet, speak about it, and elevate during the process of speech, writing, or doing, elevating the alignment. So basically, you can't go from there to there. You have to start somewhere. So that's where first investigation, you need to know where you're at because then you can apply the affirmation on top. Because only if you know that, oh, I'm afraid of this and this thing, then the affirmation can happen, right? So the same like for me, for example, I was afraid of making mistakes or like being exposed on social media, um, whatever. Like there was actually just a residue because an overall belief supports always, I know that inherently everything is beneficial and inherently everything is love, but sometimes small little beliefs that still sort of stick to something could be also just from the collective. So sometimes we have to tackle unconscious from ourselves, and sometimes it's unconscious from collective that is day to day. That's why I always believe that it's never a done deal. Yes, you can have like sorting out all your unconscious pattern, but you have to maintain it. I don't believe that you achieve a level of love frequency and then you stay with it because then all people would just stay there. But I do believe that's why people fall in love and out of love. And I'm not talking about person because that's the funny thing. They think they fall into love and out of love with a person, but actually it's with their own frequency, I believe. So, wisdom for the morning. Thank you very much. So basically, if people fall in and out of love frequency, that means there was not a solid conviction or not maintenance of this love. And I'm not talking yet again about the outside world to maintain the job, to maintain the money, to maintain the spouse or the relationship, to maintain the children's relationship, whatever, to maintain the dog's happiness. That's outside factors. I believe they are beautiful here to please me, but they're not here to be in charge. I'm from inside out in charge, and my inside is always guided by God, led by the universe. That's what I believe. So then there will be always this thing about how do I maintain my constant love frequency? Because there is a way of just being neutral, but then there can be very much sort of like a detachment happening as well, or a void of truly, feeling it. And that's because some people just don't want to put the effort and maintaining anything, so they just stay neutral and it's fine. Totally fine. I personally don't mind putting the effort because I see the magnificent benefit out of it. And on top of it, it will keep me, it's like you can't suddenly like become like, I don't know, it's like you become a bodybuilder and then you stop going to the gym. What you gonna do? Where are the muscles gonna go? You have to maintain it. And I believe it's the same with mental health and mastery. If you don't maintain it, the muscle will not continue. Yes, you will still have the awareness of understanding your realization, and your realization will keep you in some sort of good baseline because you already revealed the unconscious, process. You already changed your lifestyle to a much healthier approach, let's say, right? To a calmer, steadier approach. But then how do you really maintain it? And I'm not talking like heavy lifting here. I'm talking truly just like few minutes talking to yourself in the morning, walking in nature, balancing yourself in nature. Nature will balance you 20 minutes, half an hour walking, and you're balanced most of the time. But of course, you're building it up by regular doing so. Same with talking. You're talking, you're digesting yourself, you're processing, you're helping your system to actually digest easier. I believe that if people have sometimes digestive issues, and I'm talking truly also from my own personal lived experience. So everything that I'm talking about is actually not from books. I always had this thing that I had the experience and then I read about it in a book. And I was like, wow, someone else had it too. How cool is that? So for me, that always was like acknowledgement and sort of a recognition that someone else is going through similar times or similar experience on the spiritual path. But for me, I always had my experience first and then I read it about it in a book. I don't believe that you read about it and then you chase the experience. That's just not what, I don't know if it's realistic to be honest, because that would be again malfunction and manufactured. And I had temporary malfunctioning as well, so don't get me wrong, I'm just saying. And that can be a little bit a tricky situation, so be aware. Um, Pitfalls, basically. But what I'm saying is really truly that everything that you experience during the process of awakening, it's funny, you can actually truly find it in a book from someone else, and someone else will experience and tell you exactly the very similar ways that it happened to them as well. But yeah, so basically back to frequency, how do we maintain our higher frequencies is by daily showing up for ourselves, means there is not an ego showing up. I don't have to, when people like, oh, I have to be successful, I have to do this. This is like you maintaining the ego. Here I'm talking about maintaining your level of presence with the universe. That's the maintenance I'm talking about. So I'm sure, most of us neglected it for the first um, 20, 30 years, most probably because most people have their awakening later on. I'm not saying everybody, but most people from my experience. And so it's really maintaining maintenance of the spirit, not of the ego. And that's the difference because the spiritual maintenance needs calmness, needs groundness, needs nature, needs talking, digesting. Oh yes, that was I was talking about digestion. So I believe when I was talking less about what was going on with my feelings, my thoughts, whatever, my digestion was much more affected, and I felt like I had issues to digest and process information because information and thoughts are very and emotions are not big of a difference between food as well. We digest food. It's a nutrient that we put into our body. And over time, one time you eat bread, nothing will happen. It's fine. It's tasty. But if you only eat bread, nothing else, you will have a deficiency and you will be maybe eventually overweight. Just saying. So it's the same with thoughts, like balance of thoughts. There's nothing wrong with good or bad thoughts, but it's the balance, the combination, the overall direction of better thoughts will determine your maintenance of goodness, I believe. Because if we would be very pedantic about, oh, there was one bad word, that's very frustrating for the mind and that can be like cause a lot of resistance and friction. It's too tricky. So it's more like a general statement, like where is my main focus on goodness or badness? Very simple. It's not one word, you know, equals the other. No. It's an overall vibe. Like is it more good vibe or bad vibe? Simple as that. So if we maintain our love frequency, it means we have on a normal, like, let's be practical about it. On a day-to-day base, we will have much more thoughts and speeches about love in our life. So already, for sure, 50% of my love tank I create and generate just having a dog. I'm so sorry, but that's just a very easy tool for me. He creates already so much joy and love in my life. Then work as well can be very loving and enthusiastic and create a lot of excitement and joy for sure. Uh, Nature, music, talking to myself. I don't believe in friendships that way anymore. I believe in relationships. Friendships is like I think an outdated system. There is something in the old days where friendship is like I do for you and you do for me. That kind of falls away in the awakening, I believe, because you understand that you can only share from a place of joy, but then you wouldn't need anything. Both would just be delighted around each other. So it's more like a relationship that you can relate, that the other one is happy, you are happy, yalla. We're both all happy. But a friendship in the old school way, where it's much more like you listen to me and I listen to you. Well, no, you're always by yourself with someone. So you're always bringing your joy, your happiness, whatever you have with you wherever you go. So there's only relating to my joy, but there's no friend. What is friendship? Friendship feels conditional to me, but never mind. That's just like sidetrack. But nothing wrong with it. I enjoyed it for many, many years. Now it's much more like just a relationship. Can be with a stranger, can be with a person that I no longer, but I don't want to put a label on it as much as, I don't need to, then I don't have to. But on a normal, speech, I would say it's friend, but I don't feel like it's the old school friendships that I used to have anymore. So yeah, so basically, how much joy do I generate for myself on a day-to-day basis? And that's how the maintenance stays. It's super easy. It's like, people who are bodybuilders, how often do they go to the gym? Daily. I believe. I don't know. I'm not a bodybuilder, but it's the same with your spirit. It's a muscle. You want to keep your spirit top notch and mastery of the spirit? Well, do something for it. Maintain it. You also don't have to, because in balance, like in neutrality, everything is fine. But for me personally, just neutrality wouldn't do it. Like I need something more than that. Could be my personal preference, could be my ego, I don't know. But it just feels like it's worth putting the effort. And for some people, I don't know, maybe there's worth putting an effort with something else. But for me, that's number one priority. Maybe that's what I was sent here for. I don't know. So yeah, that's the chit chat for today. Peace out.